have any support system around me. I don't believe in that. You know, that's not a sign of success. Holding on to a bad marriage for 50 years. I left my marriage with absolutely nothing. The challenge was in being really good friends with their father.
I'm with Pooja Bedi, and today we are going to talk about motherhood, love, relationships, and lots more. Thank you so much, Pooja, for joining us. Welcome to the Quint.
Well, it is a pleasure to be here.
So, what are the kind of challenges that you faced as a single mother?
Multiple, as any single mother would tell you, because you are the father and the mother, and you are also the nurturer and the provider, and you have to bring home the money. You have to ensure that you too have your journey and your life. So most importantly, I think that the challenge was in being really good friends with their father and making sure their father was always a part of their life. Because just because he and me chose to be divorced doesn't mean that the children should be separated from somebody who's equally important in their life. I think the greatest challenge most parents face is how to keep that balance, and not bring ego, jealousy, and anything negative into the child's space as a result of your separation. Say, for example, when Farhan got married to Laila, who's a childhood friend of mine, and I was so excited about the fact that he was marrying somebody who'd be really good to my kids, because I knew her well enough to know she'd be great with my kids. And I think it's really important for most single parents to also acknowledge the role of their partner in child upbringing, and to not deny either the partner or the child of the love that should be shared between both parents.
Absolutely. I'm a single mother myself. So when you talk about co-parenting, I know the challenges that come with it. And it's really not the easiest line to walk.
I think it takes patience, it takes perseverance, it takes a positive attitude, it takes you to drop your ego.
You know, you were talking earlier about how important it is to be able to co-parent in such a healthy way that it does not impact the child or you, right? So what are some challenges that you faced along the way, and how did you really work around them?
Well, I think the major obstacle comes with finances, and I left my marriage with absolutely nothing. And it was very, very scary at that point of time to start with absolutely no income, because I'd given up my career for him, and I'd given up my life, and I'd set up the entire furniture wala, business with my ex-husband. And suddenly, you are divorced and you don't have access to any money or any funds. I met my ex-husband when I was 20 years old. I was married when I was 24, and I was divorced when I was 32. So, there you are, 32 with 2 children. And at that point of time, the last 4 years preceding that, my brother committed suicide, my mother died, my nanny died, my dog died, the man who raised me, Yunk, died. My marriage broke up, and there were 2 kids. And all of this happened in a period of 3.5 years, and my marriage was no more, and there was no money. It was just this huge, humongous, oh my God, like, can you go pick on somebody else for some time and just give me a breather? Because every 6 months, there was something very dramatic happening in my life. And this whole concept, again, is society driven. Marriages have to be forever. Even if it's a bad marriage, hold on to your marriage forever and suffer. I don't believe in that. That's not a sign of success. Holding on to a bad marriage for 50 years, living in separate bedrooms, having your children see you all fight, seeing that coldness, thinking that this is marriage, that is not healthy at all.
So what would you like to tell, other mothers out there who are in the same situation, who are probably in a marriage, staying there because of the child?
Firstly, I think we have to take responsibility for our choices. So accept the fact that everything in your life, first step, is your choice. To stay in a bad marriage is also your choice. Now, we give it excuses because we are scared to change things. You say, oh, it's for the sake of my kids, or log kya kahenge, because there are enough examples out there, women who've gone out there, ended their marriages, couples, I would say, not just women, it takes 2 people to end a marriage, couples out there who've chosen to end their marriages and move forward from strength to strength, and their kids have turned out just fine. If a family wants you to stay miserable, wants you to stay beaten up, wants you to stay with a drunkard, wants you to stay in a dead marriage, in a loveless marriage, in a sexless marriage, well, I really don't say much about that kind of family, because it's not fair that they would want so little for someone they claim to care so much about. Think about themselves. It's not a self-worth issue if your marriage didn't work out. It was a self-respect issue that you chose to work out.
When a single mother steps out of the house to work, right, she carries a lot of guilt with her, like leaving the child behind. How did you work around that?
1000%, because again, not only is something drilled into you that kids are suffering, but the fact is you want to be there with your kids. You want quality time, and you also want quantity time, and these years will never come back. So yes, there's a tremendous amount of guilt that you go through because you feel you've abandoned them in a sense at home, but the fact is you're going out there to earn a living for them, earn a life for them. As much as you rationalize certain things away, there are times when you're off shooting and your child has fever, and you just want to be the parent who's there, who's putting the ice pack on their head, and you can't be. It's a hard thing for any parent to multitask and juggle. The good part was, as I said, being friends with your ex is liberating, because I would have them for the weekdays and I would send them to him for the weekends. So the good part was that it was shared responsibility. Now, women who choose to say, "Mera bacha hai, wo nahi aayega tumhare paas," they're actually, limiting their own lives.
Is there something that you would like to tell the working single mothers out there who are fighting this guilt?
Guilt is normal, and no matter what you do, the guilt stays. And also, no child till now feels their parent gave them enough. And the fact is, no amount you ever do will ever be good enough. So focus on yourself, because at the end of the day, your children will grow up and they will move on just like you did. Better go out there and make something of your life.
So taking the plunge can sometimes feel a little scary. It can make them a little wary of getting someone new into the life of their child. So what would you like to tell them, and how did you do this transition?
This is not just about single mothers, it's about single parents. To ensure that whoever comes into your child's life is somebody who will be good to your children, because that is extremely important. Again, a choice you will make.
So if I had to ask you the one memory that pops in your mind right now, which is your favorite memory with your kids?
ALAYA went off to study abroad at NYU, and she was in a very tight student budget, and she took up a job there, and she started working part-time in some place and earning a few pennies so she could go out and have fun also and spend, etc., etc. And she comes back to India for her first holiday, and she's been earning a little job. And she pulls out of a suitcase this really beautiful Michael Kors purse for me. And I just looked at her and I just wept. It's so sweet that this child could have spent the money on herself. She could have enjoyed her life. I mean, that must have cost her so much money, from a little earnings that she must have been doing. But the fact that you want to save up and buy mama something special, these little things.
Since you've been a part of the industry, so when ALAYA was stepping into it, what advice or what did you tell her about it?
You must be the best that you can be. Right? Whether film succeeds, whether film flops, is nothing you can control. Second is that there will be good press and there will be bad press, right? Don't, get your head in the clouds of the good press, or, bury yourself underground with the bad press. Also find an alternative source of income, or have a backup plan.
It's really all the work that even you've put in as she was growing up. Like you said, right? The base, the foundation needs to be strong for them to be this today.
I wouldn't like to take credit for her success. I'd like to take credit for maybe the person she is today. I think her success and the credit for her success is really all hers. She hasn't allowed me to make a single call to anybody in the industry.
She's taken the lead from you, right? I'll do it by myself.
I guess I've been self-made, so I guess that's her journey too.
When they were growing up, there were, of course, stories about you. There were rumors, there were controversies, link-ups, and they read all of them, right? How did they take to it? And as a mother, how did you address it?
I don't think there were really controversies per se. I mean, it was just about me having relationships, but that's considered very normal in my family. So if somebody wrote about my relationships, they'd obviously met the person and been introduced to the person, they knew the person was in my life and a part of their life. So it was like, so it's not a shock to their system and mama's dating somebody and we don't know about it.
I think it's all about open communication. If they know everything that's going on with you, they don't need to ever get worried about what's written.
Yeah, and there's nothing to be defensive about. Love is a good thing. Who said love is a bad thing, for example? And if I stood up against government and I stood up for a belief system or stood up against something I don't believe in, that's my decision and those are my choices and I'm entitled to them like they're entitled to their choices. Like I was very vocal recently about the fact that I would not take the vaccine. And it is an under trial vaccine and I choose not to inject it into my body. And my children were aghast and they went and they got their vaccines.
Was there ever an episode or a moment in your life that you questioned yourself as mother?
I not questioned myself as a mother, but questioned Certain journeys that I have taken, which caused me to be apart from them. So say, for example, I'm living two lives and two worlds, and I'd like to be there for my children. I'm not experiencing these incredible moments with them. There's this message on my phone saying, "Hi, Mama, guess what? I won the Filmfare Award." Excuse me? She won the Filmfare Award. I didn't even know the Filmfare Award was happening. I didn't even know she'd be nominated. You know, and I was on my way to the beach in the morning to have a swim when I read that message, and I just stood in the water and I wept, and I felt like this utter failure parent, who, okay, daughter's 22, but I didn't even know that she'd been nominated. She hadn't told me, but that means I wasn't even so into her life every day. Called up my ex-husband. I said, where is she? Because I knew they'd obviously be in touch, and he said they're coming over home for like a tea time, early dinner type of thing. And I said, well, keep them there, I'm coming. And I just literally went straight from the beach, caught a flight, landed in Bombay, barged into the home, his husband's home, and my daughter's sitting there with this big shock on her face, like, Mama, what are you doing here? And I caught her and I wept and wept and wept and wept and wept. And she says, Mama, I didn't know it was such a big deal. So moments like that really grip you as a parent. Moments like that really make you feel, oh, I wish that we were just together all the time.
When you decided to take this call and step out of the marriage, did you get enough support from people around you, or were you really out there by yourself saying, I'm going to do this?
As I said, just prior to my divorce, I had 3.5 years of intense loss. And my father was based pretty much abroad. So I didn't have any support system around me. It was literally just me for me. And it was a decision that I just, sat down with my ex-husband and we made together as a couple and said, it's just, we reached a point where we just make each other so miserable and we deserve happiness. And especially for the sake of the kid, we've tried a lot. But if it's not going to be, then why punish ourselves forever and forever? Because society says you have to suffer marriage, no matter how bad, but you must be married forever. I mean, it's illogical.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the single mothers out there, from one single mother to the others?
It's not unique to anybody. Pain, suffering, anxiety, the loss of a loved one, the death of a marriage, societal stigma, relatives that gossip, children that may be frightened and insecure on multiple levels. It's everybody's story. It's how you deal with it. It's how you respond to your situation. It's how much positivity and strength and dignity and respect you give yourself, firstly, and to everyone who surrounds you, that really will define a successful divorce and a successful journey ahead. Right? To not be sad may not be an option, but to hold on to that sadness and pain forever, bitterness, grief, and anger, jealousy, to hold on to that, that is always your choice.
This has really been an extremely enriching conversation. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Bye. See you. Thank you.
Bye.